people, their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more complaining. People, their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more.
We're going to talk about myths when it comes to complaining. One of the myths that people like to say is that it's impossible. You can't actually go 21 days in a row without complaining. I understand why people say that. It's the same kinds of people who, when they find out that I can juggle, they say, oh, I can't juggle. Now, they've never, ever tried. And they are pre-excusing themselves from even trying by saying, oh, I can't do this. And so a lot of people, when they find out about the idea of taking the complaint-free challenge and working to go 21 days in a row without complaining, they will say, oh, I can't do that, or no one can do that, or oh, that's not true. Now, of course, we've actually had lots and lots of people who have gone 21 days in a row without complaining, and some have done it several times. Our buddy Daniel Ritzy, who is in Brazil, who I know is going to watch this, he watches and comments every single day on YouTube, and I so love Daniel. And Daniel just keeps going. He's done the 21-day challenge so many times, and he just keeps rocking and rolling. So one of the myths that people say is, it's impossible. You can't go 21 days in a row without complaining. The thing they fail to embrace is, no, you can't go 21 days in a row without complaining the first time out of the chute, because most people are not aware that they complain, or certainly not to the degree that they complain. 15 to 30 times a day. Remember that. So people will say, oh, it can't be done. The reason that they feel that way is because the first part, the getting past day one, can take months, because you're already at 15 to 30 complaints a day. If you're able to bring that down within a day or a week to 25, 10 to 25 or whatever, and you slowly get it down, you're still on day one because you're still complaining. Then once you make it through day one, then you're like, hey, and you end up back on day one, if you're honest. So people say it can't be done, and it's a way of excusing their own lack of attempting to try, and certainly their lack of staying with it. So many people, I heard a woman say something the other day, right after I got back from the gym, and she said, diet and exercise does not work for me. She's quite obese, and she says, diet and exercise do not work for me. And I thought, diet and exercise work for everybody. Are you working diet and exercise? That's really the question. So the same thing is true when it comes to the complaint-free challenge. A lot of people simply write it off as an impossibility. The second thing is, the second myth that I want to explode today is, a lot of people think that becoming a complaint-free person means you become a doormat. You just accept everything. Now, it's okay. It's not a bad idea to accept things, as we've said before. Acceptance is the first step towards change, accepting it the way it is. What I've discovered is that people who complain incessantly, they're the people who are actually doormats. By that, I mean, people who work to become complaint-free, which ultimately means practicing healthy communication skills, end up getting their needs met without the complaining, and therefore they don't feel like victims in their lives. They're not doormats. They're actively speaking directly and only to the person who can resolve their issue, and they're doing it without any negative, how dare you do this to me, attachment to it. Whereas people who complain frequently, they're going around and they're talking to the people who can't resolve their issue. They're expressing what is going on, but they're talking to people who can't resolve their issue. So that's one of the key things about complaining. So you don't become a doormat when you work to become a complaint-free person, because in so doing, you begin to speak directly and only to the person who can resolve your issue. You move away from being a doormat because a lot of people just take what the world sends them. As I say, it's not about shutting up and sucking up whatever the world sends your way. It's about practicing healthy communication skills and getting your needs met without complaining. And the third myth I want to explode, we've talked about several times before, is this idea that people need to vent. Many of us have heard this concept that human beings need to vent. It's as if somehow we're going to die or something is going to happen to us if we don't vent. Now, I admit there are times when life goes just totally sideways. For example, I might have a live speech and I'm supposed to be on camera live in my studio, and I go to get on camera and I've already checked everything out and everything looks great and I've got my suit jacket on, et cetera, et cetera. I'm smiling because I still have shorts on because I live in the Keys. And I go in and all of a sudden there's no Wi-Fi, et cetera, et cetera. And some things can go wrong. And who knows, maybe Teddy gets sick and all this stuff. There are times when life just sucks. Let's just say it. It just sucks, you know. But that means that life in that moment sucks. And so there is some release in sharing what has happened with someone else. What I've discovered is that most people, when life sucks or goes sideways, they call one friend and complain about it, and that doesn't relieve the stress. They then call somebody else, and it's no release of stress because you're actually just stirring the pot. One of my favorite studies on this, Dr. Brad Bushman at the University of Michigan, I actually talked to him briefly. I saw his story on the Penn and Teller TV show. I won't say the name of it because it's an expletive. Anyway, I saw this study, and what he did was he wanted to test whether or not human beings needed to vent, whether or not venting made people less agitated when they were upset. So the first thing he had to do was to get some students, some volunteers, or some people who were paid to be in the experiment. Remember those in college? $5, come spend 3 hours on a Saturday. And there would actually be lots of people who that $5 was worth 3 hours on a Saturday. Anyway, he brought in all these students, 20 to be exact, and put them each in individual study rooms in the library. And then he went in and told them that he wanted them to write an essay on anything they wanted to write about. He then came back and had an assistant in a white lab coat pick up the essays from everybody. And as he did, the assistant said, "We're going to take these and let another student grade them." Well, there was no other student. Remember, the whole idea was to upset these kids. So he took a red pen and wrote the same thing at the top of every one of them. F. The grade was F. Worst essay I have ever read. So the idea was to make this student think that another student had graded his or her essay so harshly. So when they gave them back, of course, the students were upset. And so they gave them one of two options. They didn't let them choose. They said, "I can see you're very upset. We want you to vent your anger. Here's a pillow. Take the pillow, slam it against the wall, jump up and down. You can scream into it. You can curse. Get your anger out." The second group, what they invited them to do was to sit and feel their anger. Where in their body is anger? What does anger feel like? How long has it been there? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of about 15 to 20 minutes, they went back and they wanted to gauge how upset these students still were. And what they discovered was absolutely amazing. They took in a bottle of hot sauce, like Tabasco, and they took in a glass, like an 8-ounce glass, and they said, "Listen, we feel terrible for how that other student graded your essay." Now remember, there was no other student. They said, "We're going to allow you to have revenge on that student by pouring as much hot sauce as you want into this glass, and then we're going to make that other student drink it." The students who sat there and felt their anger as compared to the students who vented their anger, poured very different amounts into the glass. The students who vented their anger, who had jumped up and down, cursed, screamed, who had gotten out their anger, who had vented, this is the term that we use, I've got to vent, poured 3 times more hot sauce in the glass than the students who simply felt their anger. The most amazing part of the story and the experiment that I find is that that was not the end of it. I mean, it was true. It was obvious then that the students who vented actually upset themselves more. They then took some sheets of paper to the students, and I'm going to see if I can remember these, but they gave them words to fill in. There were words with letters missing, CH, blank, blank, etc. R blank, P blank, KI, blank, blank. Yeah, I think that was it. Anyway, the point is that the students who had simply felt their anger filled in the words with neutral letters. For example, KI blank blank was kite to them. Kite. Most people saw it as kite. Whereas the students who vented and got angry, their most common response was KILL, kill. R blank P blank became, for the students who just felt their anger, rope, ROPE. It was rape for the students who had vented and gotten upset. This is probably the most common myth, and when you all are kind enough to share my videos, etc., and people see, not complaining, can't complain, then they're like, oh, you're inviting people to bottle up their emotions and explode and hurt themselves. Not at all. There's a lot of great ways of working out your emotions. I'm taking boxing right now, 61 years old, and I'm taking boxing. How's that for a way of working out your emotions in a very healthy way? By the way, not so I can hit anybody. The idea is just to get the exercise. It's amazing exercise, and also hand-eye coordination. I find it really stimulates all areas of my mind and my body. We don't need to vent. Human beings are not clothes dryers. Clothes dryers need to vent. There are times, don't get me wrong. For example, when my daughter is having a really frustrating day and she wants to call up and tell me she's having a frustrating day and that she feels sad, and she wants me to say, I get how upsetting and how sad that would make you feel, etc. We all do that. We all need to do that. What we don't need to do is to go from person to person to person to person, reciting our injuries and our woes and our upset. I sometimes see people down when we go down for the sunset. Everybody's gathering around the tiki hut. I'll hear people complaining about something, and then they'll walk over and they'll talk to somebody else and say, hello, hi, and they'll pick up and repeat the story. It's just a way of connecting. And as we talk in a few days, I'm going to help you understand exactly why people connect through complaining. So those are some complaining myths. See if you buy into any of those, that becoming a complaint-free person is not really possible, that if you become a complaint-free person, you'll be a doormat, or that we need to complain. Human beings need to complain. To which I always say, and the people who understand the complaint-free movement, by the way, totally get this. Those who do not get this. If human beings, if complaining helped people, if complaining were necessary, if complaining was beneficial, if complaining helped us release the psychological tension in our minds, then wouldn't the biggest complainers also be the happiest people, right? All you got to do is complain more. You want to be happy to get all this stuff out. And yet think about the people in your life who complain frequently and ask yourself the $60 million question. Are they happy people? Chances are they're not. Since I said chances are they're not, this is your opportunity to click share, and be sure and type share, if you would, in the comment section so we can celebrate you and know that you have shared. And if you haven't yet, be sure and tell us what you are grateful for. I'm going to go back and take a look at your comments and see what everybody is up to. I'm laughing because I see something that I just so relate to. Courtney is here from Montego Bay, Jamaica. Good to see you. I'm grateful for my family. Good to see that. Ed says he discovered a complaint-free world at a used bookstore. I am glad to know that my book is still available in used bookstores as well. Wonderful Wednesday, says Juanita and Dominic, 68 degrees in New Berlin, Wisconsin. Grateful that I wasn't standing in the doorway when the clock fell off the wall and broke on the floor. Wow. Bless your heart. Glad you are okay. My son-in-law was hanging a big mirror last weekend, and the cables on it broke and hit the floor, and shatters fell. Good morning. Grateful yesterday's grumpiness faded fast. Yes, Heather, it was your comment that I was thinking about, because yesterday I woke up with a bit of grumpiness, as I said. Just woke up with it. And I had a bad night's sleep. I wrote about it, felt better, and felt better. Christy says, grateful to see the sunshine in the great state of Texas. Needed the rain, but as human beings, we need sunshine. Yes, we do. I was reading some stuff about Texas yesterday and about why Texas is so independent. Didn't realize or had forgotten that Texas, I'm sure you know, but was a republic in and of itself. And that mindset continues, seems to continue. Grateful for Flower Moon, beautiful full moon here last night. Power hiking and listening to higher energy blues rock music is my release valve. See, there you go, Ed. Sharing, Linda, first one. Denise Bazart, in releasing our complaining, we reach an inner peace, and that peace translates into our relationships and out into the world. Yes, one of the things that is most interesting about complaining, we're going to talk about the physical aspects of it in a few days, is that because we are walking around going, this is wrong, saying this out loud. Now think about this. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, complaining. Your body goes, holy crap. And it starts going, something's wrong. And it'll make you sick. Complaining will make you sick. Ed says shared, and Willow says shared. Thank you all for sharing, and thank you for sharing your time with me. We're going to continue talking about the complaint-free concept, and be sure and invite your friends and family to take the complaint-free challenge. We did, for the last several years, we've offered the complaint-free bracelet for $7.95, because it actually costs quite a bit to pack it, ship it, et cetera, even though it's a little rubber bracelet. So we've also got 9 fast start videos and an ebook that people get. In the past, it's been $7.95. Now it's free. Free. You just pay $1 shipping and handling. Go to acomplaintfreeworld.org. Take the complaint-free challenge and invite your friends and family to do it. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I look forward to being with you tomorrow. Make it a great day, and just become aware of how often you complain or others complain. That's the first step. Just become aware. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying.